not do some vlogs here at my home farm, Fangwater. Don't quite have all of our production systems set up here, but we are setting up some market garden spaces. And maybe I'll just do some educational vlogs surrounding some of the stuff I'm doing out here. So today I want to start off with talking a little bit about custom fertilizer blends, taking information from soil reports and customizing a fertilizer blend for specific areas. So, all right, so let's go ahead and look at some of my notes here. So as you'll see, this is actually some notes I made for the Fangwater fruit area for the strawberries in particular. I fertilized the other areas where I put the bramble fruit in. So I have two 150 square foot beds, which equal about 0.0034 acres. So I just divided 150 by 43,560 to get that number. And based on my soil test, these are some notes I took from my soil test. For this site, what I need is about the equivalency of 50 pounds of nitrogen per acre, 10 pounds of sulfur, and 2.3 pounds of manganese per acre. So I pulled this from my soil test. So now, in order to get something that has just nitrogen, sulfur, and manganese, I custom selected some different fertilizers. So let's go ahead and take a look at what those fertilizers are. So I'll just go ahead and zoom out here. So for nitrogen, I actually just bought a bulk amount of blood meal. I have 50 pounds of blood meal in here, and that's around a 1300 analysis, so 13% nitrogen per pound. And then this is a granular, pelletized granular, degradable elemental sulfur that has 90%, right? So for every pound, I'm getting about 0.9 pounds of actual nitrogen, and that's important to remember. And then finally, the one micronutrient I do need is manganese sulfate. Well, manganese, and usually these micros come in sulfate form. So I am going to get a little bit of sulfur from this, but it's going to be so minuscule that I'm not even going to account for it. If I was applying more manganese and it was going to make a difference, I would kind of subtract it from what I'm applying from my regular elemental sulfur. So those are the three custom fertilizers I'm going to be using. These are actually all OMRI approved, NOP approved. So these, if you were an organic farm or organic garden, you were worried about that, these are actually organic certified fertilizer products. Okay, so you could use conventional products if you wanted, but in this case I'm using organic, and it's just because that's my personal preference here at our farm. And yeah, that's pretty much the reason why. So let's go ahead and get back to the calculation. So you are familiar now with how I'm providing nitrogen, sulfur, and manganese. This is the equivalency that I need, but I'm only applying it to 250 square foot beds. Okay, so I'm trying to unitize this per bed so I know how much to apply just to the bed. I don't want to apply any to the path space or in any of the other areas here that I'm not getting ready to plant in yet. So what I did is I take that 0.003 acres, and then I use that as a percentage of this poundage, because 150 of 43,560 is a percentage of the per acre that I need. So this is I need this percentage of this. So I'll multiply 0.0034 times 50, and I come up with I need 0.17 pounds of nitrogen per bed. Okay, so because I'm using a 13% blood meal, what I do is divide that nitrogen need by the percentage, 0.13, that is actually in the blood meal, and that gives me how much of that blood meal I need to apply in order to get that 0.17 pounds of nitrogen. So I'll just repeat that again. I need 0.17 pounds of nitrogen per 150 square foot bed. So I divide that by the percentage of blood meal that I'm actually using, of the product I'm using. So when you divide that by that, you get 1.3 pounds of blood meal. So that's how much actual blood meal I need to apply per bed to get 0.17 pounds of nitrogen. So I did the same thing for sulfur and manganese. They both have different percentages. So in the case of sulfur, it's 90%, and manganese sulfate, it's 31.5%. So I did that for each bed, and you'll see what I did is I converted the poundage here, right, to ounces down here at the bottom, what I'm actually going to apply. And then I doubled it because I'm going to apply it to 2 beds. So in this case, I need 2.6 pounds of blood meal, 1.2 ounces of sulfur, and 0.8 ounces of manganese sulfate. So I'm going to use my 3 distinct fertilizers to come up with a custom blend, and then I'm going to apply that to the individual beds. So that's the thinking, that's the math, those are the calculations you need to do in order to customize your fertilizer blends, down to the unit even. So let's go ahead and get started doing that. Now that I know the amounts that I need and in what quantities, what I'm going to do is start mixing up the custom blend. So what I've done here is I have this scale, this kitchen scale. It actually has an 11-pound capacity. I'll go ahead and turn that on. I don't know if you can see this from this angle, but you can switch between grams and pounds and ounces. So since we're mainly dealing in pounds and ounces, I'm going to leave it in that scale. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put the container on there, hit the tare button, and that zeroes it out. So now every bit I add in here, it accounts for the weight of the container. So I know nitrogen is the blood meal is the biggest component of the mix. I'm actually going to put on my face mask here because you don't want to breathe in these dusts from these meal fertilizers. They're not great for breathing in. So I'm going to have some sort of protection here for my face. I'll go ahead and weigh out my 2.6 pounds that I need. So I've got 2 pounds 11 ounces, which is probably a little more than 2.6 pounds of nitrogen, but we'll go ahead and leave it at that. So next I'll go ahead and blend in the manganese sulfate. So in this case I need ounces now, so I can see where I'm at in ounces. About 11.2 ounces. I need 0.8, so once I get to 12 I'll know that I'm there. 12. So that gave me my 0.8 ounces. So you see it's a very, very small amount for 2 beds. And that's why I only have this small amount here. So next I'll go ahead and add the sulfate. So as you can see here, this is actually a kind of a green pelletizer. It almost looks like little lentils. So I need 1.2 ounces. So I'll go from 12.2 ounces here. So I need 13.4. When I get to 13.4, I'll stop and leave it at that. So I'll go ahead and cover this up. Okay, you can see I have the custom blend right here now. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and take this little large wooden label I have here. I'll just go ahead and mix it. So that's my custom blend according to my results. And I'm going to go ahead and spread it out there in the field right now.